Howdy, all of you delicious people. I'm here today to review Lucifer Season 1, Episodes 9 and 10. So, in the end, I would probably normally just quickly write these episodes off as, like, filler, but I actually like these episodes. They're actually good, well-written episodes, and I just found myself just enjoying them, even though, really, it just came down to like some like detective kind of episodes. I just enjoyed them. They were fun. Um, Thumbs up. Not only did I like enjoy the story, but I just enjoyed the characters. Like, it was just some fun going on here. So with that said, within episode 9, we of course have a priest that walks into a bar, kind of that joke episode. And so we have Father Frank Lawrence that is to seek Lucifer's help. A priest seeking the devil for help. Very bizarre. So, but we have it where Lucifer that has this kind of agenda to want to go on and try to put the boot, so to speak, to this priest. Just like, I'm gonna find out that he did something wrong. I'm gonna figure out that he has some kind of connection to this crime. I'm gonna tie this all up in a knot, and I'm gonna figure all this out. And then all of a sudden, Lucifer, the more and more he tries to get a rise out of this priest, the more we realize that strangely Lucifer is to just start to become friends with this pastor. And speaking of pastor, there was to be this one show called Impastor with Michael Rosenbaum. Of course, you know Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville and Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Go ahead and check out that podcast, because I've probably gone on and mentioned that a plethora of times. Check it out. Especially if you like people talking about things and stuff that are coincidentally celebrities. So, going into episode 9, we are to find out that the pastor or father is to go on and want to prevent a drug ring from going into his community center, trying to prevent it. And so that leads to someone's death, and then they have to figure out who exactly this spider feller is, who is to be orchestrating this whole ordeal. So, and then we get episode 10. In episode 9, we also have some more developing story with Dan and Graham. So we'll Dan the man and raise the empire of see what the heck is going on with that. But then episode 10, we go on and we have this kind of like chef or cooking themed episode where it seems that there is to be some famous chef who is to go on and get this thing called dead via poisoning. And so now we have to kind of figure out who is to poison this famous chef, to go through a number of people who he had worked with and just be like, who could be the culprit here? Could it be the son that came back in town? Could it be really a person that just kind of comes out of the nowhere and be like, hey, I killed this man? Like, why? Like, to me, episode 10 did feel like very much like a Castle episode. Because, of course, I went on and I watched this one Castle episode where there were these girls that were all dressed in certain like fairy tale cosplay, and they were to be killed that way. Come to find out within that story, the way in which that was written was to be written like similar to this. So like I don't want to give it away, so I'll probably go into spoilers and talk about that Castle episodes as I was going on and I was watching this one. Because when I was watching this one, I was immediately thinking like it's gonna be this person, because of that Castle episode. So we'll get into that. So with that said, I think it's about that time to just do this thing that is to be coverably. That's all, folks. That is to be consistently be called spoiler time, because I think it's about that time. Just go into this to, of course, just go out of our way to say that it is spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time again. To what am I doing? I don't even know. It's spoiler time, everybody. Spoilers. So episode 9. The priest goes into the bar episode. So in episode 9, we begin this episode with Lucifer, of course, having this pizza man deliver some pizzas. And so for this pizza man, we have Lucifer that is to ask this pizza guy, it's like, well, hey, have you ever gone on and had a day of which that you've delivered a pizza and like sex is to be kind of the payout? And the pizza guy is like, well, no, never. And Lucifer is like, well, like this, there's a first time for everything. As Lucifer is to showcase to this pizza guy that there seems to be a number of Britneys all lined up for him to have at them. And so the pizza guy is going on and telling Lucifer, it's like, well, hey, I'm on the clock. I don't know. I just can't. I don't know. And Lucifer is like, really? Dude, if there's a one in a lifetime opportunity to beshall your job because you're possibly going to be getting some other kind of job fairly soon, maybe this is a once in a lifetime opportunity where you're going to get a thing called a three of sums, then yeah, I would definitely like job be danged, because like women's they probably won't like go after you afterwards. You may not have a job, but still, the women's. So, anyways, all of a sudden, Lucifer is just so tempted to have another time of partay, but it seems that he is to like weirdly just restrain himself, or to weirdly just go on, just like, you know what, like I'm with so many people, and I'm just weirdly just like I'm feeling lonely, as if like Lucifer is to possibly be like George Clooney towards the end of Up in the Air, where he's just like, well, maybe I just need a co-pilot. Do people remember that movie? The movie where George Clooney fires a bunch of people, and Zach Galifianakis is in that film, and like the one girl is to go on and have a big huge honking list of like, yeah, he fits all the criteria, and like he has a dog, and he's kind, and like he does this and that, and then the girl's just like, well, really? Like, I guess like all that I need a guy to have is like, well, his hair, and he's nice to me, and like that's about it. And she's like, huh? Yeah. So we go on into this episode, and so Lucifer is talking to Linda, and so Loosey Goosey is having Linda break it down to him that it's like, well, like, just because you aren't alone doesn't mean that you like don't exactly need to, like, you can still feel lonely even though you're not alone. Maybe like Lucifer could also say that we're not alone in the universe because God and Jeebus. Anyways, so Lucifer is like, oh, okay, like, all right, so, like, I need to be with somebody right now. Like, I need a connection. And so, Lucifer, it seems, after he is to go and talk with this thing called Linda, he is to then go on and make his way to this bar where it seems that Maze is to tell him there is to be a man who is looking for Lucifer, and that definitely he should go out of his way to see what's up, Doc, with this one. So Lucifer goes on and meets with his father, and he's like, a priest come to a bar talking to me of all places? All right, like, let's see what this is. So we have Father Frank Lawrence, who is to mention that there seems to be this drug ring going on in his community center. I think the main guy is to be Arlietta, some goofy name like that. And so it seems that Arlietta is to be manipulating a kid named Connor that has had the ski cap, and he looks all brooding and teen rebellion and a number of other things. So Lucifer is talking to this father, and he's just like, so you want me to help you? I want to just tell you a big fat noper. No, none of this. And the father is just like, well, yeah, no. But come to find out, Lucifer goes on and is to go with Chloe and go to the community center and take on this case anyways. So, what was the point of him just saying, like, a big fat but then he goes on and does it? Like, was it a guilty conscience? Anyways, so Lucifer and Chloe go to the community center to find this thing called a dead body. Man, these things are so inconvenient in a detective crime show. Man, these dead bodies just fall out of the sky. So they find the dead body of Argeleto, or something or other. And so really they go on and they start to question who would of course be one of the people working at this community center, who was Eric Doyle. And so it seems that, like, really there was, like, not much for this guy. Like, he had a solid alibi because he was going on and questioning two people, and it seems that that alibi had fit. So I think then we go on and we find, of course, both Chloe and Lucifer are to, of course, find Connor, and they're like, oh, like, that's the same guy that was, like, that that Father Frank had the picture of. So they go on and they ask Connor and they question him, but, like, it doesn't feel like that's going anywhere. So we immediately have Lucifer that has suspicions that Father Frank was to go on and to had killed this person. And so, like, because really there's no other leads besides possibly that Father Frank wanted this this drug dealer stopped, so what better way by going on and doing the dirty deed himself. So when Lucifer is to go back on and eventually make his way to this church to question Father Frank, we find that Lucifer is tempted to go into this confessional and listen to this girl who has this temptation about sleeping with her limo driver. And I'm like, man, this is fun. So Lucifer is listening to this confession, and he's just like, well, go on, just go and do it. Just like have 10 or have 10 Bloody Marys and and God will and have a good shack. So, because Lucifer listened to her, and like her last confession was like 3 hours ago, and like Lucifer's like, man, like like a quick sinner, all right. So this girl's having impure thoughts about her limo driver, and like we have Lucifer that's like, well, yeah, just go on, just go ahead, like might as well. So Chloe, of course, is to pull Lucifer out of there, so that way they can go on and meet up with the father. So they question Father Frank's alibi, and of course, his alibi was he was taking that same girl's confession, for about like an hour, because this girl was really like having like a lot of horrible thoughts about this limo driver, really just digging deep. So Chloe then runs after this girl to confirm the confession. And so, yeah, like this guy had a solid alibi to have not killed that man. So Lucifer is to spend time with Father Frank, and we have them spending time at Lux. And so Father Frank is to have a number of these amazing looking women that are all to be dressed in nun outfits, going ahead and stripping right in front of him. And Lucifer is like, well, hey, like I wanted to kind of usher you in here with something you're very familiar with. And Father Frank is like, like I'm really enjoying the music in here. It's like, yeah, like, and Lucifer's like, wait a minute, what? Like I can't go on, and like I can't mess with this guy. Like it just feels like he will come up with something that he likes or enjoys or whatever. Even to the point where like it seems that Lucifer and Father Frank can both play the piano, and Father Frank has mentioned that he's a better piano player than Lucifer, and he's like, oh well, like we got to see about that. So we go on, and we have Lucifer and Father Frank. They're going on and playing away, as Father Frank is to play like Stairway to Heaven, and then Lucifer is to kind of come in and just kind of like do this little fast paced beat. And funny enough, we have like a lot of like really interesting kind of piano play in this episode, because Chloe later on in the episode tries to comfort Lucifer, and so like Chloe's now on the piano, and Lucifer is like, oh well, like tell me that you can like play the piano. And Chloe's just like, well, I had played piano for like 3 years, but there's only one song that I remember. And coincidentally, the one song that ends up getting played is the song from Big. Like, if anybody is to remember the Tom Hanks Big movie, yeah, like that's probably like very famous from that film. But I'm sure it might be famous from some other movie, but that's the only thing that kind of pops into my brain. Anyways, so Lucifer. Lucifer is to go on with Chloe to try and track down Connor. Because really, the mission here is to try to figure out who the spider is. Not the Spider-Man, not the Ghost Spider, not the Spider-Man Miles Morales, because, man, they need to kind of figure out some branching out way to have, like, Miles Morales, like, have a name on his own, not just having to have us forcibly say it's like, well, it's Spider-Man, but it's like Spider-Man adjacent, or because like I think that like that character has worked well hard enough to like come into his own without us having to have that little stupid little tagline or that stupid little thing of just like, well, it's Spider-Man, but it's Spider-Man Miles Morales. Um, like, I'm not saying that, like, that he doesn't deserve the Spider-Man name. I'm just saying that, like, it just, like, it feels like we have a character that's just kind of copying. Like, because eventually Miles Morales is also Falcon. So it's like, this guy is just stealing and wheeling and stealing. Like, he can't just be his own character. F that. Like, plus also, like, his powers don't even make sense for him to really be either one of those characters, but whatever, it is what it is. Hashtag Miles should freaking be his own man. Be his own dude. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, pushing on. Wouldn't it be cool if, like, I don't know if they, whatever they did with the Scarlet Spiders, but, like, wouldn't it be cool if Miles was just the Scarlet Spider? I don't know. Like, because I think, like, Kane and Ben, I'm going on a whole rant of stuff that's all Marvel related, and this is technically DC, technically. My bad. So, no, go on. Just waste all the time. I'm just sitting here. I'm just trying to watch this review about Lucifer. You're talking about Miles Morales? What the fuck? Anyways, pushing on. So, we find Chloe and Lucifer back where I was saying that they were at. And so they find Connor and they find Nikki. And so it seems that they think at first that, oh, well, Nikki is a spider, and then Connor is just the foot soldier. But then all of a sudden we have Nikki that's handing things over to Connor, and we're like, well, wait a minute. Maybe Connor is the spider, as he has his gun and he fires it up in the air like he's Keanu Reeves from Point Break, and he's like, pow, pow, pow. Anyways, pushing on. So now they're thinking that that Connor is a spider, and that he could have gone on and actually killed the drug ring leader dude guy. So we then go on and have both Lucifer and Connor try to track down, or Lucifer and Chloe track down Connor, and that leads them right back to this church to then have Connor wielding a gun to Father Frank, because we find out the actual spider was Eric Doyle, who was the community service guy, and we find out that Eric is the spider. So we had it to where Connor could not go through with it to plow Mr. Father Frank. So Connor is to drop the gun, and so Eric is to whip out his gun. It is to shoot Father Frank. Now Lucifer is kind of jumping in. He's like, no! Like, you can't kill this man. And it's also kind of funny because we consistently in these episodes, and people are just like, oh godding like a motherfucker in these episodes. So, and plus, Lucifer is just having daddy issues within these episodes. So, like, it's kind of like, especially in the next episode, we have like some more daddy issues going on. So we have Lucifer that, like, Father Frank is to bleed out, and so, like, Father Frank is telling Lucifer, it's like, well, like, it must have been his plan to, like, get me to be with you, like, it must have been his way. And so, all of a sudden, Father Frank is to die, and so Lucifer is to lift up Eric like a big old muscular man, and is to intimidate this guy. So they go on and they arrest Eric, and, like, all is to be right in the world, technically. But still, Lucifer is to be sad that his father was to pass away. So we also have Graham to deal with. So it seems that Graham is to go on and decide that he's going to still be a police officer for this precinct. That, of course, he is to now need a new partner. And so Graham is to immediately choose his new partner, of course, to be Dan, so he can just kind of continue to just kind of push him down under his thumb to just kind of consistently use him. As Amityville is talking to Graham and just be like, well, hey, like you know what we talked about, right? Like, you know, I brought you back for a reason. Because you were like in hell for like 30 seconds, so like you got to make these seconds count. So Graham is to tell Dan that he's his new partner, and that like really we're using like every single thing to just have Dan realize that that Dan is gonna just have to consistently keep looking the other way while Graham does whatever he wants. And Graham was like, "Well, yep, pretty much why I called upon you to be my partner." So really, that kind of like covers most of this episode as I'm doing this bizarrely, and so it seems that Chloe is to not be, or it seems that Chloe is to realize that Dan is to not be as around as he was in other episodes. I'm wondering why. I'm so confused why all of a sudden Dan is not so close to Chloe. Because immediately I thought in the other episodes that it's like, as soon as his case is going to be wrapped up, Dan is going to be gone. And immediately, that's what we get in these episodes. So, Chloe is to want to talk to Dan about, like, well, like, what about that kiss? Like, shouldn't we talk about it? Shouldn't we, like, just figure out how we should, like, you know, like, try to, like, what was that? And, like, Chloe's asking Dan about it, and Dan is just like, yeah. And so Dan is like, well, like, let's not talk about this now. Let's talk about this later. And so when Chloe is to text Dan about like, well, hey, let's talk about this. Like, I'm in the mood now. I wasn't in the mood before. Like, I think Chloe, I think when Dan is ready to talk about it, I think like Chloe's 100 miles away. So Chloe goes on and meets with Lucifer, and that's when they do the whole like piano scene. So in episode 10, we have I think Chloe is to, of course, be drunk by episode 10 because Dan is kind of blowing her off. So we have Chloe who throws herself at Lucifer, and Lucifer doesn't go along with it because he's just like, well, you're drunk. Like, I'm not going to go on, and I'm not going to take advantage of that because I'm a gentleman now, weirdly, when it comes down to Chloe. So, episode 10, of course, to be called Pops, because if you don't have soda, you have Pops. That was a stupid joke, but it is what it is. So, in episode 10, we are to, of course, find out that there is to be some famous chef, not Boyardee, but somebody, who, of course, is to be dead. So, we have this famous chef that doesn't even have, like, a freaking... Really? Guy's not even on here? Are you kidding me? The name? Really? Okay, well, and of course, IMDb isn't all that help with their description because you have an uberly generic one. So that's great. So we go into this episode, and so we find a famous dead chef that Lucifer is like, oh my god, like this guy was like the best chef in town, and he's famous and this and that. So they figured out that he was poisoned, and they're now trying to figure out who could possibly be the culprit here. And so Lucifer and Chloe are asking every single person that he worked with. And so come to find out, they all called this guy Pops because it seems like that everyone was to say here that this guy was like a father to them. And so every person that they run through, they kind of say that like this guy treated him like garbage, but they loved him, and because like he was a father to all of them, he was like a father. So all of a sudden they run through all these people, and we have one guy who is to be named Junior, who actually was biologically this guy's son, and come to find out Junior was to run off and was to do his own thing, but then decided recently to want to come back to have one last meal with his dad. So while Chloe is questioning a bunch of people, it seems that she bumps into a girl named Penelope. That just so happens to be his ma. Or her ma, I mean. So, because, funny enough, the person that was kind of like tell Chloe that this girl's coming was saying like, "Oh, this is your sister," and we have Chloe that's like sister, and Penelope like walks in, and it's actually her mother, and so Lucifer is like, "Oh my god," because Lucifer, of course, like really enjoyed what Chloe was doing when she was doing her movies, and so now that Penelope like walks in, like Lucifer's like, "Oh my God, you haven't aged a day," and and this and that, and so it seems that Penelope is on the convention circuit, and coincidentally, we of course had a convention that was in town, so Penelope thought that she can go on and meet up with her daughter, just kind of catch up. So we have Chloe that all of a sudden is to scramble from off this case sometime later because it seems that Penelope is to go to Chloe's house and try to be grandmother to Trixie. And so when Chloe is to make it back to her house to confront her mother and have like Trixie kind of being like all dolled up, and Chloe has had in the past where her mother had forced her to be all dolled up and go to all these contests and all these things. So Chloe doesn't want that for her daughter, but now she's realizing that her mother is Penelope is doing that for Trixie. So because Chloe is to go on and meet up with Penelope and Trixie, and Trixie is to go on and run off because mother and daughter are yelling. So Trixie makes her way to Lux and is wanting to talk to Lucifer, and since Lucifer isn't there, she all of a sudden is to just start blabbing to Penelope here. Or Penelope. Maze here. Mazikeen. Mazikeen? So, and Maze, of course, in this episode is to talk to Linda, and since Maze doesn't have Lucifer, like Maze wants to go on and try to convert herself to be like all these humans, and she's trying to figure out like, well, how do I do this? Like, what do I need to do? Because it seems that Maze is realizing that she's forced to just be here and forced to, like, now she just has to kind of convert to be a human being. And so now she's asking Linda for advice here. So Maze goes on and meets up with Linda later and is to say like, well, hey, I met a friend. And Linda's like, oh, who? And she says that it's Trixie, an 8-year-old kid, because she had come to this bar. And so Linda's like, well, that's great, but you should probably get somebody that's probably of drinking age. And Maze is like, well, yeah, but, you know. So all of a sudden it seems that Linda and Maze are going to go to the bar together, just kind of like chat it out. So it seems that technically Maze did come up with making a friend after all, and it seems like it's her therapist, I guess. Anyways, so but murder, this thing called murder. So we go into this episode and a chef is dead, and there seems to be some I'm trying to think here. Man, there doesn't really seem to be all that large amounts of people in this episode. Oh, they go on to Junior's place where they meet a girl named Naomi. And so Naomi is to be Junior's lover. And so it seems in this episode we had Junior's lover that was mentioning that she was that Junior was trying to do something right. He was trying to possibly win back over his dad, and like he was trying to do the right thing here. So it seems like there is like some kind of thought process that it's not Junior, even though Lucifer is just thinking that it has to be like one of the siblings wanting to like seek revenge on their father, because of course Lucifer has daddy issues. So we have a girl named Anne Martin who is to be this cook here, and it seems that we find out that this girl is poisoned also. And immediately once that happened, I was like, Castle episode in my brain. Because there was this Castle episode where there was a number of girls that were all dressed as fairy tale characters, and then they all got killed. Except for one, that the drug that this one girl was given was not strong enough, and so she didn't die. Because I guess the drug that was put into the person's system was some kind of heroin for this episode, for the Lucifer episode. And so this girl like was to conveniently not have enough drugs in her system to get killed off here. And so I was like, well, like obviously it's now her, because she got like she knew the exact amount to not like take her to kill herself off. So it has to be her. So come to find out, correct. Because we end up finding out that this girl is to have this like secret dose hidden in this restaurant, and so Lucifer and Chloe like go back to the restaurant to try to realize that if it's not Junior who was to have killed his own father, because Junior is to be a suspect, but Junior was to go on and say that he like was preparing this whole meal to give to his father, and that he had given up on like meat and stuff like that. And so Junior really wanted to make amends, that he wanted to like start over. And because every time he looked in the mirror or every time he made a meal, like he was just thinking of his dad. So really that kind of whole story kind of wrote Junior off as being the suspect. So they realized that there's only like if, and plus also Junior wasn't really going to inherit the restaurant anyways. Like it didn't really seem like he was like really gonna get this. That it seemed like someone else was. So we find out that Anne was to uh, was to have been the killer here, and so Lucifer and Chloe are to track them down, or track Anne down, and so they are in this restaurant. And it seems that this girl is spilled this alcohol and then douse this restaurant and run off. So Lucifer and Chloe here are trying to figure out a way out of this restaurant. And so we have Lucifer, who is to kind of hold on to Chloe as Lucifer and Chloe are making their way out of this restaurant. And so after that, of course, Anne was arrested and taken and whatever. So Lucifer was to go on and have like third degree burns or just burns. And Lucifer is like, like the Prince of Darkness is to, or the devil is to have third degree burns. Like, does that make any sense? But so Chloe's like, well, like I guess this is like a thank you for like saving me, but like I saved you first. And so I was like, yeah, okay. So we have Graham spending some time with Amenadiel, and Amenadiel is consistently pushing Graham to kill Lucifer. Like that was the plan all along. Like Amenadiel bringing Graham back to life so Graham can go on and kill Lucifer, so Lucifer will be forced to go back to hell. So Graham is to go on and like tell Dan of his plan, that he needs to go on and kill Lucifer. And so Dan is to go on and talk to uh, Graham here and say, it's like, well, like, you know what, like Lucifer is like for reasons here and there, like, you know what, like I don't like him, but like he doesn't deserve to die. So Dan is to go on and chuck these cuffs at Graham and tell him, it's like, well, like I'm gonna bring you in, uh, because it's the right thing to do. And Graham is like, well, wait a minute, like what if I'm gonna go in and just like tell everybody that you went on and you shot me and you shot that other guy? Dan's like, I don't care, like it's just the right thing to do. So Graham goes on and he is to wrestle with Dan, and Graham chokes Dan out. And so now Graham is on his manhunt to try to go after Lucifer. And so, like, really, uh, we go on and we had Chloe that was texting Dan here to say, like, well, do you think that this is the right time? Um, and so Graham is to answer for Dan on this text, and so Dan blows her off. So that's when Chloe goes on to Lucifer's place to get drunk and throw herself at Lucifer, and Lucifer is like, no, like it's not right. We also had the moment where, like, the one thing that I forgot about is Junior was making this meal while Penelope and all of them were there. And so Chloe and Lucifer or Chloe and Lucifer, Chloe and Penelope were having this conversation and talking things out, and Penelope was mentioning to Chloe that she's only going to be here for like one day and then she has to go on it and leave and go to the next convention. And so, like, we're only going to see like Penelope for a brief time, but like, possibly at some point it's going to, like, it should seem that this girl is going to want to go on and try to become like grandma again. But I don't know, it just seems like Penelope's like we're only gonna have like one episode of this woman, and then like we're gonna move on to other things. But so with that said, I think that covers most of these episodes. Let me know if there's something that I forgot about, because I'm sure there probably was. Little details like certain names of certain people, dead bodies all over the place. Let me know in the comments below anything about this episode. Maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't like it, maybe you were just like, meh. Like, I like these shows no matter what. Or like whatever. Like, there's some interesting a number of people that end up being on YouTube that eventually will like weirdly listen to all reviews of stuff, and then they don't like the show or they don't like the movie. I find those to be hilarious because you go on and you have a person that immediately has a thing about some show or about some movie, and they have to express it. Like, there's sometimes where it's like, hey, I'll admit it. Like, I'm not the best reviewer either. And so like there's a lot of times where I'll get people who are just like, yeah, this review is this, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, really, you just kind of caught me at whatever moment of time. But anyways, like at the end of the day, that's the whole thing, is I'll keep going on and doing these reviews. And so whatever like I forgot about or whatever I didn't get right in the first time around, maybe the next time I will clear up, or whichever. So that's a great thing about having other chances to do other reviews, because at the end of the day, it's time to say I'm going to get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.